Hey, what's up guys? So I'm actually going to be doing an any% analysis video for my most recent any% PB, 26 minutes and 25 seconds. This is going to be fairly up to date. I'm making this in August of 2021. This is using Newcastle route with 3 ancient arrows and out of bounds movement. So we're going to take a look at this and see what is going on. And I'm going to be pausing it and pointing out some visual cues throughout the video as well. So let's see if... Alright, so straight away, we're just, starting the run like normal, Timing typically starts from the first frame that Link has the option of moving, not from the first frame that you choose to move Link, but from the first frame that you have the option to move Link. Good to know, because I've seen some runners who didn't know that and started their timer from when Link starts moving. That's not how it works. So fastest language, of course, is French, but specifically European French. So in order to get European French, you set your switch region to Europe and then your language to French. As you might hear, my voice acting is in Japanese, which I didn't know at the time, but is actually just ever so slightly unoptimal, but only by a few frames. So yeah, so here I'm actually gonna rewind this. So we clip out of SOR. You're gonna be looking for kind of this black streak here on the wall. I know that the resolution is not the greatest on the video. You're gonna be looking for this black streak right here on the wall. Make sure that you're whistle sprinting, because you're gonna want to have full stamina when you get to the base of the wall. So once you have full stamina, you're going to do 1 hop up the wall, 2 hops up the wall, and then continue whistle sprinting until your stamina is full again. Then do 3 hops, and then continue whistle sprinting and refill your stamina until you get to kind of this area right here. You want to crouch, continue walking forward, uncrouch, and start whistle sprinting away. Now, my routing for Boko Shield has gotten a bit more optimized since this PB. I've just kind of been trying to cut down, improve my lines a little bit. But essentially the gist of Boko Shield is you start running towards this way and then jump over this patch of snow. Now, as we go by, you'll see that I run past kind of this line right here. That is my current visual cue for when I know that I'm going to be out of the cold with optimal lines. So I try to cut fairly close, maybe like right about here, to make sure that my lines are good. And then if you for some reason do not get out of the cold and you keep going, you are going to die. Like, there is no way you will make it to stasis without getting out of the cold for a second here and resetting your cold timer. So you can see right there with like the kind of the snow particle effect around, that means that the cold, obviously the cold timer has started, and you're going to lose half a heart every 10 seconds until you reach warmth. So I just come down to here, and as I get to the edge of this rock surface, I jump over the snow, land back on the rock. That's important. That's going to save you a little bit of time. You're going to see all Boko Shield runners doing that, because there's no point in running over the snow, like running in it when you can jump over it. And then run down to the edge here and jump off. Now you're going to want to, as you see, like, here, I'll rewind it. So when I ran past this stone patch right here, I lose a half a heart. That's a good visual cue to know that you are doing well with your cold timer. You want to be maybe just before that, or just before that, or just or right as you go past it. Now, a good time that I try to aim for to get actually get to this cutscene is sub 130. Typically you'll be able to do that with the 47 SOR. But if not, it's really no big deal. You can still have optimal movement and get good stasis times, even if it's 130, 131, 132. So don't sweat if you aren't getting that time straight away. So here what's happening is just basically lines and stamina management all the way to the Boko camp. So as I'm running up here, sometimes as you're about, I skipped ahead a little too far. As you're about right here, when you start whistle sprinting again, the Bokos will hear you. That most of the time won't really affect how they move, but sometimes it can. Because in this run, I got lucky and they didn't hear me, so I just keep running. But if they do, honestly, typically I don't really change anything. I just kind of keep going the way it is and hope that it's gonna, be fine. But sometimes that's not how it works. So we run, and kind of another good visual cue here. I'll rewind it and then press play. So as you see, just as I grab onto the wall, I lose another half heart. Now I'm left with 1 half heart. That's a good visual cue for knowing that you are doing well with your gold timer as well. Okay, so we jump up here, and as soon as I get up here, Sly talks about kind of watching for this line right here on the rocks. That's the visual cue that I use since I watched Sly's analysis. So we have this line, and then I'm going to immediately start whistle sprinting. Actually, there's something I want to talk about. So as you can see, when you're climbing up the wall, you can see the 3 question marks of the Bokos right here. And you'll notice that those 2 looked away at the same time. So let's watch that in motion. So this one notices you first, and then these 2 look away and the question mark disappears at the same time. That is how you know that you have gotten the good Boko RNG. Or at least the vast majority of the time, that is going to let you know that the Bokos are going to act the way you expect them to, which we will get to in a second. But immediately as I get to the top of this wall, I'm looking at this chest, and you are not going to want to go for the right side of the chest. You want to go for the left corner so that Link can run straight towards the campfire. I'll explain why that's important in a second. So I run to the back left corner of this chest right here, kick it open. Also, make sure not to get too far to the right. So if you were running pretty much straight and then you press A, Link will have a longer turning animation to kick the chest, and that will lose you a little bit of time. There's no point in that. If it's an easy thing to avoid. So you can see the Boko is running straight at me. So this is what we want to happen. This is exactly perfect. We want this to happen because if the Boko takes a curved path for you, 9 times out of 10 you're going to have to hit it twice to get the Boko shield. And that loses time. It makes the timing to get to the campfire a lot tighter to reset the cold timer. So basically, this is exactly what we want to happen. So the Boko, this one over here will notice you slightly before the others. So this one will be the first to notice you, and then this one second, and then immediately after this one will notice you. So the Boko with the Boko shield will actually run straight towards you, and the one with the club will run around this box. So I get the arrows, and then I immediately run straight for the Boko. I press Y. The way that I do this is I press Y while sprinting, and then immediately after I press Y, I lay my thumb across X and A, and then I start spamming X and A, because you want to basically dash attack, hit the shield out of the Boko's hand, jump and grab it. That's how you get the Boko shield. This gave me a lot of trouble when I started running Boko shield. It's gotten easier for me since then, but essentially that's how I do it. So we have the Boko shield now, and immediately my attention is going to turn to this Boko right here. So let's see what happens. So I noticed that the Boko pulls kind of late here, and this is kind of a gamble. Sometimes sometimes you'll go for it and it won't work. If you see the Boko pull late, generally you're going to be fine to run to the campfire and then immediately hit him. Oh, actually, that's not what I did here. That's probably what I would have done. Now, I probably would have, since I saw it pull late, I would have gone for kind of an earlier hit. But now, in this PB, what I did, and I'm kind of glad that I had the chance to talk about this. But basically, if this does happen, what you're going to want to do, where the Boko pulls early, what you're going to want to do, like, let's say, for instance, you just got the Boko shield, so, like, here, and you already see that the Archer Boko is pulling the arrow, you're going to want to actually immediately do a shield flip over towards the fire, because that's going to make it a lot harder for the Boko to hit you in the air. And then after that, the Boko should hit you, but if it does take a long time, you're going to want to do what I do here. So I pull out my shield and I target the Boko and strafe to the right. And that's going to pretty much ensure that you don't get hit. And if you do, it'll hit your shield, which will knock 1 point of durability off, but it's fine. You get an extra arrow, and you can just do a durability save at some point to save that extra point of durability. So it's really no big deal. So I see he misses me here, and then I just immediately, hit it twice, standard potlet stuff. And then I'm going to start shield surfing towards this place here. Hop, put away the shield, jump, and then get the fast climb there. So this is the main thing that I want to talk about with the stasis split. I have made a tutorial on Cryos, a stasis clip setup, which, by the way, I do still recommend. That is a very safe clip setup, and it is very consistent. I still like it. But essentially what I'm going to do here is I'm going to run... Man, video quality is not great, but you can kind of see there are 2 patches of snow right here and right here. And between them and kind of above them, there's this circle. That's the spot that you want to land on to get skew. I'm going to do it right here. You kind of see there. And the really good thing about this skew spot, especially for Boko Shield, is that it does not take a point of hit durability, of shield durability off of your shield. So you're going to have that extra shield durability to do whatever you want with it. You can do rock skew at cryo, you can, I don't know, if you have like fail a clip setup and you need to reset skew, perfect. You don't really have to worry about it because you have that extra leeway to do that. Then immediately I'm going to start running towards stasis, and you're just going to kind of want to draw a line. You kind of want to hug the cliff a little bit here because, I mean, lines are important. That's a lot of way that you're going to save time. And then we get here, and I just use the same visual cues that I talk about in my Cryo BTB, not Cryo BTB, in my my stasis clip tutorial, and you're in. Like, that's really easy. 252 entry, pretty fast. That should, if I'm recalling correctly, that gave me a 415 stasis in this run. Okay, so that's another little optimization that you might want to take a look at. Basically, as I'm coming down this elevator, I'm spamming X because you want to skip that cutscene as fast as possible so you get the right cycle with the gear. And then, let's see, when the screen... I'm holding ZL the whole time this is happening, by the way. I'm holding ZL like Cryo talks about, God, I keep saying Cryo. Like Sly talks about in his any % PB analysis from about a year and a half ago, I think. So you're going to be holding ZL, and then when you feel the controller vibrate, you let go of ZL, and you're going to get an extra head start towards the pedestal to get the rune. So you run over this way, I get the rune, yada yada yada. We all know this part. Sit through 32 years of cutscenes. So this is kind of not like a recent optimization that's happened, but I mean something that's kind of easy that we can kind of take a look at is throw cancels. So when you use a rune, there's going to be a little bit of time where Link is kind of holding out the Sheikah Slate like, wow, I used this rune, look at me. And it makes you walk slowly, you can't sprint while you're doing that. So what I do, and what a pretty decent amount of runners do at this point, is you'll see me here after I stasis the gear, I pull out my axe and then immediately start sprinting like that. It looks fancy, it can be a little bit tricky to incorporate it into your movement, but basically all you do is press right bumper and then immediately press B and start sprinting. That's it. That's all you do. Not hard, but can be a little bit tricky to work into your muscle memory. I do the same thing here. Now here you're going to immediately want to start looking, again, video quality is not the greatest, but there's kind of a crack here between this pole, so you can kind of see like there's kind of like a gate here. There's another one up there. And then there's a crack between that and then like the grading of the fence up the ramp right there. You're going to want to aim right there, so as the rock rolls down, you can stasis it as quickly as possible. happens there, and then immediately I throw cancel again. So I recommend when you're running up this ramp to stay to the right of this line, because if you don't, when you kind of round this corner, you're going to swing a lot wider when you go around this way. Now if you do this, you can cut this corner, take a really close line all the way across. Not a big deal if you mess this up. Like, obviously that's not reset worthy, not even close to reset worthy. But you know, it's a good way to shave seconds off. Lines are a good way to shave seconds off, and that is honestly what separates runners on the leaderboard. Like, if you need just that extra second, like you have like a 30:01 PB or something like that, and you're going for sub 30, maybe start working on lines. You know, that could help you save a few seconds total over the run. So as you see, I kind of cut that corner tight, and I kind of had a wide line right here. As Sly talks about in his any percent PB analysis, you're going to want to cut this corner really close, and then kind of straight line right there, cut that corner close, and then go to the boulder jump. My line right there wasn't great, but essentially, no big deal. Also, that was a mistake. In this run, you don't want to do this. So this actually kind of goes back to what I was talking about with that extra point of durability that you have at your disposal. This is what I apparently chose to do with it in this run. So I just jumped, and then for some reason, either I didn't press the D-pad hard enough, or the game just ate my input, I don't really know. But missed the unequip right there and took a point of durability on my shield. So yeah, that's Stasis segment. Stasis in 4:15, not bad, not bad. So cryo, oh yeah, standard stuff like everyone talks about. Make sure that you wait until the text fades away, and we'll continue. Not much to talk about. Still not much to talk about. Okay, so here. Actually, there's something I want to talk about here. So, after this dialogue option, you're going to want to turn your camera so you're facing the boulder. A lot of people already do that. That's just so that you can immediately start running towards the boulder as soon as the dialogue with the old man ends. So, what you're going to do, just stasis the boulder up. So you're going to do 4-hit boulder launch. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I aim my boulder a little bit lower than a lot of runners do. It's important here that you pick up this arrow, which I failed to do, and this lost me about between 5 and 10 seconds in castle. So the arrow routing is very tight in this run. You need to have at least, I mean, technically you only need 6, but in order to finish the run without having anxiety, you need 7 arrows. 1 for when blight skip, and then 6 for blights. I failed to pick up this arrow here, and this was actually turned out to be kind of not a huge mistake, but a pretty big mistake. So I just climbed up the boulder immediately. But as you can see here, I got kind of a lower angle that sends me farther up the mountain. Saves a little bit of time. Now I will say that I no longer use this CryoBTB setup. If you want to look and see the CryoBTB setup that I do currently do, you can check out any of my most recent plateau PBs, 1357, 1354, or 1352, and you will see that I now do a fancy one that involves a bunch of jumping and swinging of axes and stuff like that. But I will go over the timing for this CryoBTB. So, visual cues, and then there's kind of some snow. Like, you can see, like, the snow out here is smooth, and then it gets closer to the cliff and it gets rough. When this Boko's head reaches the edge of the snow right here, jump. Now, I got lucky here. Got a really, really solid turn. So I ended up right next to the shrine, which is a very good angle. And then, where I get skew depends on where I land. Generally, this is kind of a controversial opinion, but rock skew is, in my opinion, more consistent than snow skew. Snow skew, where you get the snow on where you get the skew on the snow determines how strong or weak it is. And generally ESCs are going to work better with a weak skew. With rock skew, the skew is going to be pretty much exactly the same no matter where you get it. So I recommend going for rock skew unless you land up here in the shrine. Then I recommend going for snow skew. So I go here, and kind of from snow skew, the snow skew spot, you kind of want to draw a straight line from Link to the center of the door, or just to one of the two directions. Basically, when you ESC, you don't want to try to do it straight on at a 90-degree angle with the door. You want to try to do it just to the left, because as you can see, Link gets skew just to the right, so you want to kind of go at a straight line from where this is to the center of the door. That's kind of where it is. Like, when you're first doing this, I recommend throw aiming towards the center of the door when you're getting skew, because that'll give you a good direction to go in. And then pulling out your shield, and then kind of just shield walking towards the center of the door. That being said, ESC is a very inconsistent trick. It is frame perfect. If you are a new runner, I do not recommend going for this trick. Learn the normal clip setup. It'll save you. I know it sucks. Normal clip is not fun. I don't like it either. But it's good. You need to learn it. Okay, I'll step off my high horse now. So you can see I kind of take like more of a diagonal path towards the door. I'm not head on, but I'm fairly close. And then, so when you ESC into this shrine, so I get the frame right there. You see my skew is really, really weak. When you re-equip your shield and press A, you don't actually have to unequip your shield again after you press A. So you just get the frame, re-equip your shield, and press A, and that's all. You don't have to do anything else. You should clip through, as you can see here. And then just press A and you're in. So 150 entry, pretty good. That's about, I mean, I've only done it 1 second faster, but at this time that had actually tied my cryo gold for fast entry. So this run does not go for wall jump. Another one of those tricks that I don't really recommend you go for, although I do go for it now sometimes, depending on how I'm feeling in runs. Yeah, I'll skip through the cutscene. So I want to talk about something before we get to this trick, because you're gonna see me pause here and take like an extra second to set this up. Now, I believe in something when it comes to speedrunning called, I like to call it the Cars mentality. Go slow to go fast. Take the extra 2 seconds to set up a trick right, to do it right. You know, don't, try to rush it. Don't YOLO it. It's okay if this run isn't perfect. You always have more runs you can do. There's always tomorrow. Just take that second, set up the clip right, set up the BTB right, set up the whatever it is, set it up right. Because that could save your run. Because if you try to go too fast, yeah, you'll get it really quickly, like 15% of the time. But I would much rather lose a second and get the trick like 90+% of the time than constantly be resetting and get it really fast one time. Go for consistency, don't go for absolute crazy gamer speed. That's something that I really take along with my mentality. So you're gonna see here, I put a cryo block under the door and then immediately throw cancel and then continue sprinting. So here's what I'm talking about. I paused right there. It wasn't a very long pause, granted, but a lot of runners just, place the cryo block down and then immediately do that. I'll be the first to admit that I'm not very good at this trick, but I recognize that, and I know that I need to take a little bit of extra time to set it up. So, especially when you're first starting to speedrun this game, don't try to do things quickly. Just try to do them right. It's better to do something first or second try slowly than it is to get it 5th try trying to do it fast. Okay, there we go. So I get cryo skip, and we're good. So this was a really good cryo segment, actually. This was a 302. Yeah, so not quite a gold, but it was really, really close. Alright, so Cryo BTB, there are about 1 million Cryo BTBs or Mag BTB setups out there. I'll talk about. I mean, this is just the standard LimQ Cryo BTB or Mag BTB. I don't use this setup anymore, but this setup is fine. Just basically follow what LimCube tells you to do in his tutorial, and it'll be fine. So this is something that I actually want to talk about with the split, is that a lot of the times with mag split, what can make or break your split is world loads, and you have no control over those. So that's why a lot of the times you'll see, I mean, my mag gold now is 218, I think. In this segment, I mean, I did everything right, you know, I got the BTB first try, and I had a really clean clip. Spoilers, I didn't get unloaded, but I had a really clean ESC in a mag, and I still ended up getting like a 232 mag, even though I didn't do anything wrong, and that's okay, because world loads dictate what happens in this split more than anything. So, as you can see, we're zooming on our way to mag. Also, I recommend learning how to do the fall damage cancel for this, but when you do, make sure you press B. Don't do the like shield unequip method, because that is going to make you fall straight to the ground like a stone. So as you see here, like when I'm ready to fall damage cancel, I press B. And I kind of like float in the air for a second, and then I start falling, which gives me time to fall damage cancel, even though I'm already low to the ground. Now, if I had just pressed or used the D-pad to unequip right there, I would have fallen straight to the ground and immediately died, and that would have been it. The run would have died right there. So when you have a low, fast angle like that, it's best to press B. Also, we'll get to another reason why B presses are good in the next split, which is bombs. So here, going for ESC, same deal here. Learn the normal mag clip. Actually, I don't recommend going for mag ESC at all. The only reason I did it here was because I landed kind of in front of and to the left of the shrine, or front of and away from the shrine. But optimally, you're going to want to land on kind of the close side of the shrine so you can tell whether or not you have unloaded and then do what you need to do accordingly. So here I landed far away from the shrine, and I see I didn't get unloaded, which is kind of a worst case scenario, because I don't really like mag ESC. I find it inconsistent. But if you ever do have to do mag ESC, I mean, essentially it's the opposite of cryo. It's the same setup, just on the other side, and you run kind of towards the center at a diagonal line like you did with cryo ESC. But you want to learn the normal clip for this. Mag ESC doesn't really save any time. It's I mean, if you get it first try, it can save time, but maybe only like a second or two. Like, the normal clip is fast, so I would strongly recommend going for normal clip. One of my, I recently got a plat BB, like a few weeks ago. Sub 14, I didn't get unloaded, and I did the normal clip, and I still got sub 14. So normal clip is good. I strongly suggest doing that over mag ESC. But if you do have to do mag ESC, it's the same, pretty much the same thing. You just set it up on the other side of cryo ESC. So as we get inside the shrine, we're going to do the ZL thing again. There's really not much to talk about within the mag shrine. It's the easiest shrine of any of them on the plateau. There are no tricks in it, which is very nice. You kind of get a little mental break before you get ready for the bomb split here. So we're going to skip through this. Now I run to the end of this thing, this metal slab, and then magnesis it, push it out of the way, and just fall down, and then I run kind of against the wall. So if you do fall into the water, you want to start swimming towards the wall so you can get out as quickly as possible. It seems like it would be faster just to swim down to the end, but it is not. It is not faster. So make sure that you, if you fall down into that water, you swim out as quickly as you can, and get up and start running again. Now, when we get here, you kind of want to cut corners, so all about lines, again. Because there are no major tricks, there are no tricks at all inside the shrine, lines are important. So we're going to cut this corner here and then jump up these stairs instead of going this way, so it's a much more optimal path to take this way. So jump up that way, and then immediately I'm going to look up when I get up these stairs. I'm going to look up because I need to get ready to use Magnesis on this block to push it out of the way. So Magnesis, push it out of the way, and then run to the right. Now here, this lovely fellow right here started to charge up his laser at me sooner than normal, which I did not appreciate. But basically, if this happens, you just want to immediately swoop to the left, and it should miss. Now, be prepared, because if you get an early laser like that, chances are it's going to shoot you again. It's going to try to. So as you can see right here, oh, by the way, if you're running with Potlid, you don't need to do a shield durability save here. If you're running with Boko Shield, do it. I also recommend not... Like, what a lot of runners will do is they'll do a shield jump, unequip, and then land without re-equipping their shield. But what I do is I do a shield jump, unequip, and re-equip to save durability, and then land on the shield. Because this does two things. One, when you land, you're going to get a bit of a boost forward from the shield. And two, this will clear your skew, which will help. I don't know if it's just placebo, but it seems to help me with Bomb's BTB. And yeah, that's pretty much all for that right now. Oh yeah, but after I jump over this, so you can see, and I hear that the Guardian Scout is charging up the laser again. So as I'm magnesising this thing right here, I move to the right, and all is good. Now, if you're playing with a Pro Controller, this is going to be a lot easier than if you're playing with a third-party controller. I started running on actually a PS4 controller. Was my first speedrunning controller for this game. So, but basically what you want to do is you want to hold forward on the left stick and then hold backwards on the D-pad at the same time. So that way you're still moving forward, but you're pulling back with Magnesis. So that way you never stop moving and the doors are opened. And then you're just going to want to run straight through. And that's Magnesis. So let's get on to this. Box walk. Gotta love box walk. I'll kind of go into detail about how I do box walk. So first things first, you're going to want to run back and to the right. When you're in the air, which I actually missed, I jump. This is optional. I jump and then I switch to stasis and then immediately stasis the box. Hit it 4 times. 3, 4. Crouch. Then look up. Okay. Let's see. That was really... I actually shot the arrow really quickly. So you're going to see on the box, there are these 3 squares right here above this kind of winged design. I aimed kind of towards the top of this middle square. That's where I aim my arrow for box walk. I shoot it, and then immediately uncrouch, run away a little bit, pick up the arrow, jump on top, and what I do... Golly, that's quick. Okay. So what I do when I jump on top of the box is I position myself just ever so slightly on the front half of the box, right on top of the arrow. You want the arrow to kind of be dissecting Link, like right down the middle. I guess straddle is the word I'm looking for. So as you can see, the arrow is right between Link's legs. I'm standing right in front of the box on the front half. And then as soon as you stasis, you're going to want to just be really careful. Start walking slowly backwards. It's tough. Box walk is hard. I recommend going for the slab launch if you're not comfortable with it. It's definitely not a super, super difficult trick if you practice it. But honestly, box walk only saves a few seconds over slab launch. So if you're not comfortable going for slab launch or for box walk, especially if you're on really good pace, just go for slab launch. It's not going to lose you that much time. So I start walking. Oh, I'm really glad that this happened in my PB. So for those of you who do box walk, if you ever see that Link is sliding like that off of the box towards the end, jump. If you jump like that, it will save you. It'll lose just a little bit of time, but if you see that you're walking just a little bit too slowly and Link starts to slide down, if you wait too long, the box is going to hit you and it's going to deal 2 hearts of damage, and you're going to fall straight down. That's bad. You don't want that to happen. So if you see that happening, just go ahead and jump, because that can save you. So I jump there, and then I immediately start whistle sprinting. Now you want to get to the ladder as soon as possible. Basically, you want to get to the ladder before they pick up their weapons. And really a good thing to look for here is making sure that one Boko picks up both the club and the shield. Because if it picks up one or the other, chances are it's going to run towards you and then run away. Like, it's going to make it look like it's running towards you just as like normal Boko behavior or whatever. And then it's going to psych you out and it's going to run the other way. And that's so frustrating when that happens. So, I mean, even if that does happen, it's still worth trying if you've already gotten up on top of the ladder. But just if you see that one Boko has picked up both the club and the shield, then that's a good way to tell that Bombs BTB is going to be your friend. So I'm running up here, and then I turn around, and you're immediately going to want to lock onto the one that has both the shield and the club, because that's going to be the one that you're going to bounce off of. So it gets here, and then you just do your standard bomb timing. Now what I see a lot of newer runners doing here is they do an instant shield jump, because kind of that's what we grain into everybody's head. Like, you see people posting in the Great Plateau Discord saying, like, with elevator clip for bombs, and they're struggling with it. And we tell them do an instant shield jump. For Cryo BTB, we tell them do an instant shield jump. Mag BTB, same deal. For this one, you don't want to do an instant shield jump. If you do an instant shield jump, you will most certainly fail this BTB. So you want to delay. And when you're just over the Boko's head, you're going to pull bullet time, and then you're going to try and land kind of on the top of its back, kind of in between its shoulders, and boom, we fly in. So, something that I didn't talk about with Cryo BTB, but essentially cycling axe like that, or cycling shield, but don't cycle shield when you do BTB or you'll fall straight to the ground. I warned you. When you cycle shield like that, essentially what you're doing is forcing the world to load around you, and that can help you get a much smoother fall damage cancel, because the last thing that you want is for when you're trying to fall damage cancel, the game starts to load and it just freezes and you're stuck there and you can't do anything for a few frames, and then all of a sudden everything just resumes and you're falling at Mach 5 and there's nothing you can do. So I recommend when you see Link, let's see, so you get the bounce there, and just before the apex of the bounce, you want to cycle axe like that. Now, I talked before about why pressing B was a really good thing. Here's another reason. So if you're holding left stick in the direction that you want to fall when you press B, as you fall, you will travel in that direction. So let's say that this Bombs BTB, if I had just unequipped the shield, I probably would have fallen kind of this square right here where the mag shrine is. That's not mag. Where the bomb shrine is, I would have fallen just outside of that square, and it would have lost me a little bit of time. But because I pressed B and I'm holding the left stick, I fall, and as you can see, I land inside the square. So, good. Also, if you're scanning amiibo at bombs, which I typically only do if I'm behind plat BB pace, but I did it in this run because in order to plat BB I needed like a sub 950 mag. But, so I start scanning amiibo here. Now, this is probably the dumbest time loss in this entire run. So, when you're scanning amiibo, obviously you're going to get a bunch of fish slapping around on the ground, and a chest is also going to fall. If a fish falls toward that chest, especially if it's not an attack up fish, just don't pick it up, because you could open the chest, which is like a 2-second cutscene, and then you'll get a newly discovered weapon cutscene, and then you'll get a weapon throw cutscene. So, I mean, in total, just from opening a chest, you lose like, this is just an estimate, but like maybe 5-7 seconds, something like that. So if there's a chest next to the fish that you're doing, it's best to just not pick that fish up. Just go for another one. So I get my two, what do you call them? Porgies. Yeah, those. So here, I'm going to pick up a Hyrule Bass, and I accidentally pick up this thing. So I probably lost close to 5 seconds just because I did that. Frustrating. But I just do the normal WinCube bombs clip setup. I find it really consistent. Good setup. Sub 1140 entry, so this is 14 base. Good plateau so far for Amiibo Scan, aside from that one little mistake. So now what I recommend doing, once you get in this shrine, obviously once you get in, you're going to have Ragdoll Glitch, because when you unequip your shield mid-air during a shield jump, that gives you Ragdoll, Glitched Ragdoll state is what we call it. So what I do now is when I'm running towards this pedestal, I do a shield jump, wait until Link skews mid-air, and then unequip my shield, because this does two things. One, when you're in the air and Link skews with the shield on, that clears your skew. That's why with the old castle route, it was important that you got Castle BTB first try, because we needed that extra height from the skew to get to the upper level of the dining hall there. I still see a lot of runners that prefer to do a neutral shield jump to clear their skew, but I find that a lot of the time when I do this, I still have skew, maybe in the opposite direction. So what I recommend doing is do a shield jump here towards the pedestal. Kind of don't do an instant shield jump, do a delayed shield jump, wait until Link skews midair, and then unequip the shield. That will fix your ragdoll, and it will clear your skew. We'll get into why that's important in a little bit. Anyway, we get, the 4th rune, 32 years worth of cutscene. So, as soon as this goes, I walk to the right and then do a side hop. And then I make Link's feet straddle on this on the crack here, or kind of on the ramp, on this edge between the ramp and the normal floor. And then, because in this run I didn't do that thing that I talked about before with the delayed shield jump and clearing skew here, I do a neutral shield jump just as normal, and then I aim just to the left of this crack. Now, if you aren't scanning amiibo on plateau, you're just like going into castle, scanning them there, and you for some reason take a heart of damage during movement to bombs, do not aim to the left or to the center of this of these rocks when doing this wind bomb, because you will, like 95% of the time, you'll die. So in that case, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to aim to the right of the crack, because that's going to set you down on the top level of bombs. and that will typically, you won't take any extra damage that way. But as you can see, I don't remember how much damage I took in this run, but most of the time with full health at the beginning of the shrine, you're going to have a quarter of a heart left at the end, which is very close and kind of monka, to be honest. So just normal front hop wind bomb. Yeah, as you can see there, I had 3/4 of a heart, but most of the time Link is going to ragdoll a little bit more, and it's going to be close. So as soon as I land, I get up, and I'm immediately looking for this constellation right here. So you look for that constellation on the wall, take out your Spirit Bomb, throw it, boom, ready to go. And then I recommend hopping up these stairs, just saves a little bit of extra time, but you know, it's really a personal choice, it doesn't really matter. So that is, that's Bombs. Bombs was it wasn't bad in my PB, it was just that one little mistake that made it seem bad. So since I have gotten this run, I now do my wind bomb to the trees a little bit differently, but I'll talk about my visual cues, which I've never really seen anybody else that does this wind bomb this way. So again, this goes back to what I said earlier in Cryo Split, Kara's mentality. Take that extra little second and set it up right to make sure that you actually get the trick and you can continue with the run. Go slow to go fast. So immediately after the cutscene ends, I shield hop to the left. Let's see. Did I actually... Hold up. Yes, I did. So immediately after the cutscene ends, I shield hop to the left, and although I kind of do multiple things at the same time here, essentially, I'm going to wait until the... Okay, go away. So as you can see, kind of near Link's right foot, there's kind of a spot right here in the shrine. That's where I would always aim Link's foot. And then after that, I would aim for... As you can open this. Why is this so quick? So as you can see, I aim... I throw aim so that the reticle is lined up with this edge on this rock right here, on this wall, and then do a normal front hop wind bomb. You kind of want to have a fairly early circle bomb placement to do it the way that I do it, although there are other runners that have setups that are much easier to follow. This is just kind of a setup that I do and I've always done. Don't necessarily recommend this setup for newer runners. I would go for the one that Sly talks about in his 2841 analysis if you want to go watch that. And then I turn so that, I guess if you had to do anything, turn towards kind of like this crack right here. That's where I would say. I just kind of turn by feel, but do not do that. Gert makes fun of me all the time because I do a lot of things in this game by feel. But essentially, you want to have a visual cue for everything, and in this, I guess that would be a good visual cue right there. Kind of aim towards this crack in the rock right here. And then, boom, just before half stamina, to explode. Now, something that I kind of have heard about, but forgot until recently, is when you do this wind bomb, when you're ragdolling towards the trees, if you don't touch the left stick, you're going to keep ragdolling. You're just going to keep bouncing, skipping like a rock on water. Now, until you touch the left stick. So if you get a wind bomb that is kind of looking like it's going to be a little bit short, just hold off on touching the left stick. You know, you can change runes like I do here, because you're going to want to have stasis so you can do the tree launch. But don't touch the left stick, and you'll ragdoll towards the tree a little bit more, which will save a little bit of time. Then when you are feeling good about where you are, touch the left stick, and then you'll be good to go. And do the tree launch like normal. Oh, okay, so this was a little monka in my PB here. You can kind of see Gert in a little bit in the chat box. But essentially, you know, just charge the tree up to red. And spin cancel. Don't whack the tree just for good measure. Crouch, aim up the tree, and then grab on like that. Typically, if I have no problems charging up the tree, I actually run up the front of the tree, because I find that to be a little bit easier, a little more consistent than grabbing up to the side. But in here, on this, I didn't have any time to do that. I did what I had to do to continue the run. And it worked, fortunately. So, oh yeah, so when we leave bombs, when you do the ragdoll fix inside bombs, you're going to want to leave your shield unequipped. Because, like I said before, with when I was talking about Cryo BTB, or I think it was Bombs BTB actually, when you cycle your weapon or your shield in this game, it's going to force the world around you to load. And that's going to also come into play here. So you're going to leave the shield unequipped, so as you can see the shield is not on Link's back. And then the tree launches, and then kind of when you cross over like this first wall here, you want to re-equip the shield, and it's going to cause the world to load, which is good because that way you can just press B without really having to worry too much about like the tree doing anything weird. You can just press B whenever you want here, and you're just going to fall right off the tree, as opposed to weird things happening with world loads. So just press B, fall off. Make sure you throw sprint. This is something that Lim talks about in his any % tutorial. I see a lot of runners who forget about this though. So make sure you throw sprint when you're going up into the paraglider cutscene thing with King Rome. Because if you don't, and you whistle sprint here, you could alert the Boko and throw off the positioning for Castle BTB. And that's not what you want. That's not good. So we jump in, and that's Plateau. Plateau is done. Hooray! Yeah, you can see Gert there saying that was a little Monk-esque, talking about the tree launch, because it was very Monk-esque. Okay, so we get the paraglider. And immediately you're just going to want to start mashing B. Just mash, 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 mash. Now, I lost a lot of time in Castle in this run. Without Amiibo, I got a, I think it was a 417 Castle. But I just do the normal Linkube Castle BTB setup. I wish that there was something that made this easier. I have not found anything that makes this easier. I've tried music, like singing songs in my head, which helps a little bit, but it's not precise enough. This trick is either frame perfect or 2 frames. It is very, very tight, and this trick is hard. And I wish that there was something that made it easier, but unfortunately that's not the case. So just keep practicing this trick, and it'll get easier, I promise. It will. Sometimes you're going to lose runs to it, and it'll be heartbreaking, but just keep your head up and keep going. So, get Castle BTB. I don't recommend doing Y press here. So you get the correct timing. And then what a lot of newer runners will do, and I recommend that a lot of new runners do, it's what I did when I was still new to running this game. Pull bow, and then immediately start buffering. And then the first frame that you see that Link has hit the Boko, unequip your bow. And that will give you more than enough stamina to make it all the way to Castle. But I pressed Y because I live life on the edge, I guess. So we're flying towards Castle. I'm just going to fast forward through Castle BTB here, but essentially I start pumping the glider because, as I kind of talked about a little earlier, having skew for Castle BTB gives you extra height. And that is caused by the skew causing Link to shift a little bit mid-air, just ever so slightly. So it ever so slightly changes the part of the Boko that you land on and gives you a little extra height. Consequently, this also decreases the horizontal speed that you get from Castle BTB, which for New Castle you want to go as quickly as possible from the Temple of Time to the castle to increase your chances of the gate being unloaded. Because while you can still get good times, and I've still gotten sub 27 runs with loaded gate, it is substantially more difficult, because that's going to force you to do an ESC, and you want to eliminate as many frame perfect tricks from the run as you can. Sometimes it's still going to happen. I actually was streaming earlier today and had 2 PB pace runs that died because the gate was loaded. And I tried to get clip in, but unfortunately it didn't work out. So, yeah, so that's why it is important to clear skew and bombs, because you're going to get a lower, faster BTB, and theoretically it should increase your chances of getting unloaded gate, which will allow you to get a fast castle split. So we're going towards the castle, and I'm going to be high, like I'm kind of higher than I'd like to be, so I'm pumping glider on my way there, so I can be a little bit lower. Now, if I had gotten a no skew BTB, I would be, well, obviously a lot lower to the ground, and what I typically do then is I unequip shield right off plateau. But I didn't do that here. So what you can do if you have your shield out like this and you want to put it away immediately is press Y. Press Y to do kind of like a downward slash, and it'll immediately put your shield away. That's what I did here. And then pump glider before you hit the ground to cancel fall damage. And lo and behold, unloaded gate. Woo woo. You know, that's a pretty big victory right there. That's kind of, this is how I gauge how a run is. If I'm on if I'm on PB pace coming off of plateau, and then I get castle BTB first try, and I get unloaded gate, I know that it's time to focus up. So it was about this time in the run when I was starting to get a little shaky, my hands started getting cold. Like, I knew, like, okay, this is a big PB pace right here. So, running castle, and essentially what you want to do when you get in castle is I jump and throw my weapon. The reason that you'll see amiibo runners throw their weapon is because this saves as a text box later in the run, because you'll pick up a weapon and then it'll show you, like, hey, you've never thrown a weapon before, this is how you do it. Well, we're doing it here, so we won't get that text box later. Also, we don't need that axe anymore. Screw the axe. And you'll see here, I cycle shield. This is just a personal preference, but I've had bad luck with the Lizalfos over here next to this campfire that'll spawn in just a second. If I just kind of immediately jump, I've had them notice me and kill me. So I cycle shield, they spawn in, and then I kind of go here and I'm cycling shield to get the things in the world to load faster. I turn around. Now some runners will actually get the sneak strike off before the castle cutscene. That is very, very, very risky. Very risky. Because if you start the sneak strike animation and then the cutscene loads, the sneak strike won't count if you're unlucky. And then the moblin will notice you and you'll have to either reload a save or the run is dead. And that is one of the most infuriating ways to lose a run. So I suggest getting behind the moblin, waiting until the castle cutscene is over, and then sneak striking. Won't lose you more than a couple of seconds. So as you see there, I had the opportunity to sneak strike, but I waited until after the castle cutscene ended. So here we go. Castle cutscene, or whatever, you know, that thing. So I think I kind of had a lot going through my head at this point because I'm on PB pace, 3 splits from the end of the run. I think I could have gotten away with not grabbing the mushroom there, but essentially, if you get only carp, if you get 3 carp, you're going to need to grab the mushroom, or if you get 2 fish of any, 2 attack up fish, whether that's 2 porgies or a porgy and a carp, you're going to need to grab the mushroom. 2 carps used to work with the old castle routing, but it no longer does. You need at least 3 carps, or a carp and a porgy, or 2 porgies. Those are the minimums that you need to get the level 3 attack up. Luckily, you don't need to pick up any extra ingredients because the boss rush is a lot faster now, so we don't really need that extra like rock salt and acorns and stuff like that to increase our attack up time, because we have much faster weapon routing at this point. So I think I could have been okay skipping this mushroom, but just wanted to play it safe, which I recommend. If you aren't sure what you need, then just pick that up and it'll be fine. So here I jump and I switch to the square bomb. So I don't know if this happens in this run, I can't remember, but if you're ever running up these stairs and the Lizalfos notice you, jump and drop a square bomb behind you. Chances are they'll probably, not 100% of the time, but probably go for the square bomb and not for you. Sometimes they'll chase you up. It sucks. It happens. It's not fun to deal with. But occasionally you'll get or most of the time, sorry, they'll chase the bomb and they won't even pay any mind to you. So, oh yeah, and once you hit that staircase, you can whistle sprint. I would honestly say you can whistle sprint till like here. Don't whistle sprint after that, because that's gonna throw things off later on. So once you get here, honestly, since whistle sprinting or throw sprinting is kind of inconsistent, I would start throw sprinting when you have about a quarter of a wheel of stamina left. So they did not follow me there, so I did not have to drop the bomb. And then you just want to stay on the square bomb, throw it. Pretty self-explanatory here. Now, this is kind of where you start to see why picking up that arrow for the cryo boulder launch is important. So I currently have 1 arrow in my inventory, and I'm guaranteed to get 5 up in Zelda's study. So normally, you would finish the plateau with 2 arrows. You'd finish the plateau with 3 arrows. You'd use one for Castle BTB, and then in Castle you'll have 2, which gives you 7 guaranteed arrows going into Blight. That's what you want. Unfortunately, that's not what happened here. So, because I missed that boulder launch in Cryo, because I missed picking up the arrow up after boulder launch in Cryo, I did not have 2 arrows left here. I only had 1. So what I was hoping would happen, and there's a chance of this happening, is I was hoping that after I blew up those crates, that I would get 1 arrow, I could pick it up and continue and it'd be fine. Now, that didn't happen. I got kind of a little bit of bad arrow RNG from those crates, but it's okay. So I pick up the ancient arrows. I'm looking around to see if there's an arrow behind me. I see that there's not, so I just continue with the run. You can see that the Lizalfos at the top of the stairs has heard me, and essentially I want to make sure that Link's head is below the top stair so the Lizalfos cannot see me, and then throw the bomb off in this corner. Lizalfos sees it, sneak strike from behind to pick up the boomerang, and then light the arrow on fire, press B to get it going down, and while you're on your way over to the cooking pot, this is a good chance to explode your square bomb. This is just kind of the place that I've started doing it. That's going to save you some time. So I go ahead and cook up some fish. Oh, I did need to get the mushroom there. So I got a critical cook there. And this, I lost about, let's see, about 11 seconds. Yeah, about 11 seconds to this clip. So here is an example of me not following my go slow to go fast mentality. And this is why you should do that, use that mentality when you're speedrunning. So I get up into this corner and I'm thinking, I'm on PB pace. I want to go fast. Let's do this. And I just started YOLOing this clip setup. And I failed it 3 times. after finally taking a second, getting Link in the corner, and then I get it. So that was probably the single biggest time loss in the split for me. Which really, I mean, it lost me a ton of time. It lost me 11 seconds. This run could have been a lot better if I had gotten that clip, but that's okay. There's always time-saving runs. So since this run, I have gotten much more adamant about using visual cues. So what I do now is, if you look down here in the bottom right, you can see that there's kind of like a gate right here on this. And what I typically do is I line up the gate with kind of this oval like tablet shape that shows you the weather. And that gives me like really consistent clips. But unfortunately, I did not do that very well in this PB. So I do my mid-air wind bombs the way that Linkum teaches to do in his wind bomb tutorial, which is going forward at full normal paraglider speed, letting off on the paraglider, dropping circle, activating bullet time, yada yada yada. Now the thing about that, at least that I found, is that wind bomb setup typically gives you more height than the other way of doing mid-airs. So if you do them that way, what I suggest doing, and you'll see me do here, is when I clip out of bounds, I start turning around, and when I activate throw aim, I let myself fall for about a little less than a second. Now, what most runners who do it the other way are going to do is they're going to turn throw aim just enough time to get themselves in the direction that they need to face, and then they're going to pull glider. But if you do it like this, you're going to want to let yourself fall for a little bit, because if you get too much height on this wind bomb and you're too high up, you're either going to hit some textures above you, or you're going to fly into the water above you and you're going to swim. And swimming is fun, but not when you're on PB pace in any percent, you know. So I set up to do the wind bomb here, and not a bad wind bomb. I mean, could have been a lot better, but generally I find it best to not delay detonation, which is what I did. I placed both of my bombs in delayed detonation, so I got a lower wind bomb. And luckily I still got enough height to get up to this area to do the second wind bomb. But not as quickly as I would like. So I climb up this texture, and then here's what I use as my visual cue to line up this second out of bounds wind bomb. Most people are scared of the out of bounds movement because of the midair, but I will stand by my opinion on this. This second wind bomb is so much harder than the midair. It's so much harder. Because what I'm wind bombing off of right now is a slope. I'm standing on a slope. And typically that wouldn't really matter that much, you know. Like, if you're wind bombing off of a flat surface, it doesn't really matter your bomb placement. But if you place your bomb too early on this slope, it's going to start rolling down the hill. And that's bad, because you need enough height. Like, that square up there in the top, that's where we're going. That's the place that we're going next. So we need a lot of height to get there. And if the bomb starts rolling, that's going to mess with your bomb alignment. And the bomb is going to hit kind of the top of Link's back, and it's going to give you a low, fast wind bomb. And that's not what we want. We want a wind bomb for height here. So what I typically do is I forward hop, and I delay my square or circle bomb drop just a little bit. Then I just do my normal wind bomb timing. Like that, and it gives us enough height. Now here is where my castle split differs a little bit than other runners who do this. So when I crouch back into bounds, switch to the square bomb, and then immediately what I'm going to do is I'm going to unequip my bow and re-equip it. Now, as we talked about before, unequipping and re-equipping items helps with world loads in this game. But specifically, the bow seems to be the best at influencing world loads. So when you unequip and re-equip the bow, it's going to like really cause world loads around you. So I know that that's going to happen, and basically in this room there's a moblin that has an edge of duality that we need. A lot of runners, what they're going to do is they're going to run into this doorway right here. Why are we... Let's not do that. So what we're going to do, or what other runners are going to do, is they're going to run inside this door, throw aim towards kind of like a chair right in front of the moblin, and they're going to throw their square bomb over there. I've had trouble with this. I find it difficult. So what I do is I unequip the arrow, or the bow, and re-equip it, and you'll see that the moblin has loaded in. Now what I do next, which is a little bit different, is the moblin is going to hear you when you start running up to the door. That's good. Don't freak out. That's fine. You want the moblin to hear you. Then I'm going to wait a little bit to make sure that the moblin is actually headed towards me. And when I know for sure that the moblin is walking towards me, I'm going to throw the square bomb over towards this bookshelf over here. And as soon as the question mark disappears, I know that the moblin has seen the bomb and is going to go chase after it. So I'm going to take advantage of that, and I'm going to sneak strike it. So question mark disappears. So something that I didn't do here that I typically would do is I actually wait until after the moblin kicks the bomb to sneak strike it, because I'm going to need to detonate that bomb as I'm running over towards the bow on the chimney, as well as the arrows over there. But what you're going to see me do next is a direct result of me not picking up my arrow at Cryonis. So those pots over there in the corner, I know, typical Legend of Zelda, got pots over there that you can break and get loot. But those pots over there in the corner, you're going to get a guaranteed elemental arrow out of one of those pots. So I know this. I know that I'm short one arrow, so I'm thinking to myself, pretty much from the point that I don't get an arrow from the crates down in the... right before we sneak strike those off those for the boomerang, I'm thinking, okay, I need to break those pots inside Zelda's study and get an elemental arrow. So that's what I do here. So I break this pot, throw it against the wall, and get a shock arrow. Great, I'm good to go. Very close there. I almost killed myself with that bomb, which was bad. And then use Magnesis to pull the bow down, pick up the arrows, pick up the bow, and then bada book, bada boom, we're on our way up to the sanctum. Now, this wall climb can be really weird, so I recommend whistle sprinting up to the wall shrine, up to this wall. Because there are like little places on the wall that you can get caught on, and you'll have to do an extra hop. So make sure you have full stamina once you get to the bottom of this wall, or else weird things can happen. So yeah, I do the wind bomb off of this side over here because I find it to be more consistent. It's harder to get like the perfect wind bomb that drops you right in front of the door without even having to pull glider, but going from the other side, I would notice that I hit the tower a lot more. When you're on PB pace, hitting that tower can hurt quite a bit. So I go for this, and I just go for like a normal, just straightforward farm. I get it, and then I just start going back down the sanctum. Oh, something that I kind of forgot to mention is when you're going for the sneak strike on this moblin. Let's see, where is it? So when you go for the sneak strike there, as soon as you get the sneak strike, you're going to jump and unequip the claymore, because you're going to need the Edge of Duality for Water Blight Phase 1. That's the first weapon that you're going to use in the Blight's fights. So you just need that. That's a small optimization that can save you some frames. So pick that up, yada yada yada. Actually, you know what, let's just let that play so we can see that a little bit in motion. So I'll go from clipping back in bounds. So arrow stuff combined with losing a lot of time on scope glitch caused this to actually be a pretty slow castle segment. I mean, overall this run was pretty good, but the castle segment definitely was the area where I had the most time saved. So we get into Blights. I opt for Demons when Blight setup. In my opinion, it is far more consistent. Go slow to go fast. You have one extra jump, but a much more consistent Blight skip setup. So make sure that you switch to the Royal Guard's bow before you set it for one Blight skip. That's all I wanted to say there. So you aim for your typical visual cue over there. If you need a guide for Windblight skip setup, I may actually do one because I don't actually know if there is a Windblight skip tutorial for at least demon setup. So I may do a demon's Windblight skip setup tutorial. But anyway, so we set it for Windblight skip, and then we immediately skip the cutscene. That's when I split for castle. So if you see Windblight skip gyrating like this, you're good. You know that you got Windblight skip. You can breathe, get ready for the boss fights. So, get Windblight skip. So, Water Blight, you're going to immediately move kind of to the edge of this circle here on the ground. You don't want to get any closer really than that, because if you do, then chances are Water Blight's going to slam, do a very big area of effect damage. It's going to leave you with a quarter of a heart. You don't want that. That's bad, obviously. So you're going to want to kind of get to the edge of this circle here on the ground, and then target Water Blight, get at least 2 hits. Now, sometimes you'll have time for as many as 4 hits here, and sometimes you'll barely have time for 2. If Water Blight doesn't move after those 2 hits, just continue to get hits like this. As you can see, I got 1 extra one there. I don't recommend doing Water Blight phase 1 like I do, because I aim, have Link facing towards Water Blight's main body, so I'm getting double hits on the arm, which is it's a lot tighter. Don't recommend it. But anyway, so I start spinning. I recommend facing Link towards Water Blight's arm right here, so you're going to be getting double hits on this main body. That's the better way to do it. Just being honest, that's like the better way to do Water Blight phase 1. So don't do this like I do it. I actually tried to do it the other way, but my muscle memory is just so ingrained in me at this point that I find it difficult to do it the other way. So I continue to do it this way. So finish Water Blight phase 1. Now with Blights, a good way that you can save frames, which, I mean, it's really not that big a deal, but instead of using the right stick to menu, I recommend using the left bumper, the trigger buttons and the bumper buttons. So Z, R, and ZL, as well as L and R, to use your menuing. So you'll see here at the beginning of this next phase. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to really quickly switch over. So essentially what I'm doing here is I'm pressing right on the D-pad to bring up my weapons menu, and then I press right stick to the left, and then L and ZL so I press right stick and ZL at the same time, and then I press left trigger. So you kind of get that fast menuing. It's something that kind of requires a little bit of practice. It doesn't feel right at first, but once you get used to it, it'll feel really good, honestly, and it'll save you a little bit of time. So you can see there, I switch over to my Royal Claymore. 2 headshots. 3 hits with the Claymore. And then go for this next headshot here. If you don't get that headshot, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. If you miss completely, that's bad. It's definitely recoverable, but that's not what you want. So if you miss that arrow completely, what you can do is at the beginning of the next phase, switch to your boomerang, throw the boomerang, switch back to the Royal Guards or the Royal Claymore, and then get your 2 arrowhead shots in. You're still gonna have to do 1 extra hit with the Claymore to kill Water Blight, but that's better than losing an extra point of durability on your Claymore, because that can throw things off in Thunderblight. Now, luckily in this run, I got the headshot on Water Blight. If you get a shot on Water Blight, but it's a body shot, you're gonna have to do one extra hit with the Claymore to finish Water Blight off. And, oh yeah, so something that can happen, which I'm sure most of you who run this game have noticed, is after Wind Blight Skip, there is a chance that the arrow falls on the ground, and you can pick it up and use it again. That doesn't always happen though. I wouldn't rely on this happening, because sometimes the arrow can fall on the balcony above and it'll be out of reach. It'll cost time to go pick it up. It's honestly just not worth it. So it's kind of, it's good to go into Wind Blight not banking, go into the Blight's fights without banking on the fact that this is going to happen, because most of the time it won't. But luckily in this fight I did have enough arrows regardless, but it did save me a little bit of menuing, so I did get a little bit lucky with that. So I actually didn't even have to pick up that extra shock arrow in Zelda's Study, but I knew that there wasn't like a 100% chance of me getting this arrow back, and I didn't want to bank on that to be able to finish the Blight's fight. So picked up the arrow, got it back, and then 2 more headshots. Skipping cutscene. Now we start Fire Blight with the Royal Claymore. So you're gonna get 3 hits with a Royal Claymore, slam. Make sure that you hit. So with the slam, you actually get 2 hits. So you hit 3 times with the spin attack. Then on the slam, you hit once with the sword on the way down, and then you get an area of effect hit when you actually slam the sword on the ground. Now, if you miss this, this hit right here, like this one that I just got before the slam, that's bad. That can cause some problems. So because the weapon routing is so tight with this new route, you can't use the Claymore, the Black Claymore, to get an extra hit on Thunder or Fire Blight like you would with old routing, where you would just get an extra hit with the boomerang. You can't do that, unfortunately. So you need to really make sure that you get this hit with a Claymore. And then switch over to the Royal Guards Claymore. Now, something that I kind of struggled with when I was first learning this weapon routing for Blights was I always wanted to press Y twice, because for some reason I was thinking that when you switched weapons it would be on your back and you'd have to take out the weapon and then start spinning. But when you take the weapon out, it's already going to be ready to go in Link's hand when you switch over to it. So you're not going to want to press Y twice, because if you do that, Link is going to do just a regular attack forward and then do another attack. That's not good. You want to... So essentially, once you have the Royal Guards Claymore out, you just press Y and hold it and you'll start doing your spin attack. So for this one, you want to position yourself between Fire Blight's body and his small arm. This way you can actually get 4 hits instead of just 3. So we finished the first phase there, and then we pick up the second. We switch over to the Royal Guards Claymore, and we position ourselves between Fire Blight's body and small arm. Get a first hit on the body. 4 hits, slam. That's the end of phase 1. That is much, much faster than the old route. Saves probably a good 5 or 6 seconds over the old route with Blights right there alone. So how I do Fire Blight phase 2, I run to the middle of the arena, jump, and drop a circle bomb right there, and while I'm in the air, I switch over to the boomerang. Now, when Fireblight spawns in, we're going to start slowly walking towards this sphere, wherever it is. You're going to see the bomb get sucked behind Fireblight, and when it's behind Fireblight, explode it. And that should send him down in the floor behind you, with his head facing towards you and his body pointing away from you. Now, when this happens, you're going to want to go towards his big arm, 2 hits, jump, throw the boomerangs, and then switch over to the Royal Claymore. Then you're gonna target. Actually, it's important that you start spinning while still moving away from Fireblight, because if you don't, Link is going to automatically position himself facing towards Fireblight, and you don't want that because you need to get double hits here to get the 1 cycle. So you want to face yourself away, so you can see, like, when I start spin attacking, I'm still moving just ever so slightly forward, and then as I'm spin attacking, like as I'm spinning, I start to target Fireblight. Now this is important. You need to target Fireblight here because he's going to get up, and his positioning is going to change. And if you don't target, the chances are you're not going to get the 1 cycle. So you need to start spinning, and then target, and then get double hits here. And that's Fireblight. Fireblight with the new weapon routing is the scariest, because the most can go wrong with Fireblight, in my opinion. So Thunderblight, immediately you're going to start sprinting towards, get 2 hits with the Claymore, turn around, get double hits. Not much has changed with Fireblight. You see Thunderblight. And optimally you get 2 hits there, and then slam, and then slam Claymore in his face. But if you miss one, obviously, I missed one there, and it's fine. You just have to do 1 extra hit with the Edge of Duality in this next phase. So with this Fireblight, I can't remember the Blight's name, the Thunderblight Phase 2, if you threw the boomerang, you're going to want to go find it, just pick it up, and then immediately turn around and start aiming towards Thunderblight's shield. So you're going to see, with Thunderblight Phase 2, basically, because we broke Thunderblight's shield and didn't really give it a chance to, like, recover, it's always going to do the same thing in Phase 2. The first attack that it does is going to be, it's going to drop those metal rods that you probably remember from your casual playthrough, that normally in a casual playthrough you would pick up with Magnesis, take it close, lightning would strike, and then Thunderblight would go flying, like, yay! But that's not how we do it at 90%. So we go find the boomerang, and then pretty much as soon as we find the boomerang, you're going to notice that Thunderblight is going to lift its sword up into the air, and it's going to start calling down those poles to the ground. When this happens, you're going to notice that your screen is going to shake just every once in a while. So notice here. Okay, so screen shakes once, screen shakes twice. The instant that the screen shakes for the second time, you can throw your boomerang. That is what I use as my cue to know when to throw the boomerang. So you can throw it as soon as the screen shakes twice from the rods falling to the ground. This happens, and then your first priority is going to be to pick up the boomerang, get 4 hits on Thunderblight, break its shield, and then spin to win for the rest of the fights. And that is Blights. Blights is scary, I'm not gonna lie, especially with castle routing, it can be tricky. But that's okay. That was a pretty good Blight split. That was only like, it was less than 1/10 of a second off my gold, I'm pretty sure. So Calamity. Oh boy, Calamity. Calamity is a whole different beast. So, right off the bat, the first thing that we want to do with Calamity is when you spawn into the Calamity fight, if you're doing the either no Amiibo 3 action arrows or Amiibo 3 action arrows, target him and strafe to the left. No matter what attack he starts to give you, no matter what happens, just strafe to the left. Even if you get big arm, like the horizontal slash that takes forever and is super easy to flurry rush, start moving to the left. Because you need Calamity to do exactly what you want him to do in order to get the optimal phase 1. So we start the fight, or at least I start the fight, with Edge of Duality still equipped. What a lot of runners will do is immediately they'll switch over to the Boomerang. What I do is I wait until I've gotten the Flurry Rush, and then while I'm in midair from the Flurry Rush, I switch over to the Boomerang, turn my camera towards the bomb arrows at the edge of the arena, do the Flare Rush, and then immediately start running in a straight line towards the bomb arrows. You want to be kind of out of this circle when Calamity can start doing things again. That will be probably the best way to ensure that you get laser. Because that's what you want next, because the laser is a good way to open the fight, because it kind of influences what Calamity will do for the rest of the time. If Calamity follows you to the bomb arrows, that is really bad. That can really throw things off. And if that happens, Godspeed, because I don't really know how to deal with that. So just make sure you run in a straight line towards the bomb arrows, because if you don't, there's a really good chance that Calamity will chase you towards the wall, and you want to keep Calamity far away from you. That is the name of this fight, in my opinion. Keeping Calamity far away from you is the best way to go about this. So as you can see, right there, Calamity is starting to target me with my laser. That is good. So we know that we've manipulated Calamity's RNG so that we got him to do exactly what we wanted. So pick up the bomb arrows, and then while the bomb arrow cutscene is playing, turn my camera to face towards Calamity. Then the next thing I want to do, this can actually be a little bit tricky right here. So you want to pull out your bow and then target, but for some reason I struggle with that. I don't really know why. It's not that hard. But yeah, you want to just pull out your bow and target Calamity, and then just start headshotting. Just headshot, headshot, headshot. Stop moving to get headshots if you need to. Pick up the Claymore, and then parry the laser into his face. Switch over to the Royal Guards Claymore. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, slam. 6. So you want to get 6 hits. Sorry. 6 hits and then slam. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, slam. Throw the sword at Calamity, and then immediately switch to Ancient Arrows and start going for headshots. 3 Ancient Arrow headshots, switch back to Bomb Arrows, and hit Calamity with the rest of the Bomb Arrows instead. That's phase 1. Honestly, it's a pretty good bit harder than it looks. I'm going to be completely honest. Calamity is difficult. It went pretty well there, but a lot of the time Calamity can do some really, really weird things that you don't expect him to do. So just be aware that there's a lot of different things that can go wrong, but I would say that if you are from the start of the fight moving to the left before the Flurry Rush, and then running a straight line from the Flurry Rush spot to the bomb arrows, you should be generally okay as long as you get your headshots. Headshots are very important. So, alright, phase 2. So I didn't get immediate laser here, but what you want to do is at the beginning of phase 2, you want to switch to the Edge of Duality, because that is what we're going to use to start the stun lock. So Calamity gives me a melee attack here, and honestly, because Calamity gave me laser at the end of phase 1, I thought he was going to go to the wall, but lo and behold, laser. So at this point I'm like, oh my god. So I parry the laser, hit 1, 2 hits, jump to cancel it, and then start the stun lock. So start the stun lock, and then switch over to the flame, the other flame. And then it's just normal stun lock time. You're going to hear me get pretty excited doing this, because it had been 2 months since I played at this point. This would be. So, I'm very excited, and the cutscene skip for Let's go, dude! And looking back over that, is so frustrating because that's 2 free seconds to time save, but you know, whatever, it's fine. Free time save for next time, it's okay. Now, I am not Tapir. Tapir is a god at Dark Beast, I'm not. I mean, I just kind of react. A lot of runners will do pre-fires, but I just react. But essentially, I'm just going to let it play out towards the end of the run, and we'll see how it goes. My heart is beating so fast right now, oh my god. Also, something fun to note is that if you press and hold ZL during Dark Beast, you can like do this weird kind of like side horse hop thing. It looks really funny. My heart is beating so fast right now, oh my god. So, as soon as I see this text box go away, I start sprinting towards Dark Beast's left side, and then I turn my camera to get ready for the first shot. And then I enter bullet time for the next 2 shots. Now, something important to note for Dark Beast is that if you're going to enter bullet time for these shots, for the last shot, you want to make sure you are out of bullet time before it hits him. Because if you're not, you're going to lose a little bit of time there. So then you just move your way over to the other side. And if you see Dark Beast moving away from you like that, that's what you want. That means that you've manipulated his movement exactly like you want to. Now, I don't do the pre-fire here because, you know, but here, fire, and I immediately press B to make sure I exit bullet time. Now, a certain Tallest Thomas once said that a run is not valid on speedrun.com unless you do the butt shots. So, you gotta do the butt shots. Sorry, I don't make the rules. This is important. But you know, that's how it goes. When you position yourself, get ready for this shot. Now this one, it's gonna spawn like up here, and then immediately it's gonna move like this way. So I kind of just get ready for that. So it's gonna spawn here, and then kind of like, nope, this way. So like this. So just get ready for that, and then as soon as you hear the kind of like the shing, you just let go of that arrow. And that's about it. We're coming up on the last shot on Dark Beast's eye right now. Here we go. Boom. There it is. Breath of the Wild any percent in 26 minutes and 25 seconds. Now, I'm not quite at the level that I want to be yet. I'm not a world record level speedrunner yet. But there are a lot of small things in this run that I talked about that I think are important to know. If you want to know more, if you would like me to, you know, take a look at your PB and give you some advice, feel free to message me on Discord, cornflake6623, and I will, I'd be happy to help you out. Also, be sure to join the Breath of the Wild Speedrun Discord, and make sure to ask questions there if you have them, and that's pretty much all I've got. So if you like this video, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you very much for watching. I really hope this video helps, and best of luck with your speedrunning.